Someone from Reddit asks, what happens if the seller is not moved out at closing? Okay, so most of the time, the contract is going to say the buyer gets possession at closing and funding. So normally, unless you negotiate it differently, the buyer's not going to get the keys to the property until the day of closing and when the deal actually funds, meaning the funds transfer from the buyer or the buyer's lender to the title company, to where the title company can disperse, giving the seller their portion of the proceeds, paying off the seller's mortgage or any other, fees associated with the transaction. The title company handles that and the seller gets what's left. But say the seller's not moved out, really the buyer at that point would not have to close, and you either give them a little slack and try to work something out, or you might end up in a legal issue, because anytime you have a contract, it's two parties pledging to do something, right? And basically the only way to handle it is if one party doesn't do what they're supposed to do, is try to work it out. And sometimes we end up calling on lawyers for that, because most of us realtors are not lawyers. So we can handle a situation when it's in the parameters. We can set people up to succeed, but we can't force anyone to do anything. Only judges can actually force action, right? If one party doesn't do what they say they're going to do, then the other party might end up getting a lawyer involved. But I will say, from my experience, most of the time that doesn't happen. Most things can be worked out. If someone's not moved out when they're supposed to be, often there's some kind of reason. It's a solvable problem. And if your realtor has some experience, maybe they have a way to solve this that's been solved in the past. Certainly is better to avoid getting attorneys involved unless it's needed. Now, if it is needed, go for it. But if the seller is not moved out when it comes time to close, then they, at that time, would be in violation of the at closing and funding part of the contract with the closing date that they agreed to.